And we are recording. Welcome to PacWest Bigfoot. This is David, and today we're going to be sharing an awesome experience with Nick. He had one when he was older and some when he was younger, and we'll get to him in just a moment. Real quick, let you guys know, PacWestBigfoot.com, PacWestBigfoot.com. You guys can get over there, sign up anytime. And this month, just to let you guys know, I got a free giveaway. Of course, it's going to be something from the My PacWest shop, or basically My PacWest Bigfoot, the store there. I'll give something away for Christmas for next month, and also a little piece of artwork that you can put into a frame. This is from Melanie Darling. You guys will love this. I love this artwork. It's really, really awesome. And you guys can find her on Facebook. So got some great artwork over there. Other than that, no other news and updates right now. Got lots of good encounter stories coming out throughout December and the rest of this month. Got a lot of interviews coming up as well. And today we're going to hear from Nick out here in Oregon. And Nick, you there?
I am here.
Awesome. All right. Well, Nick, I'm going to let you take over the whole thing right now, and if you want to, you can start off with the one that you were talking about first, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about the stuff that you think kind of led up to all of this, to that, what you believe about Bigfoot and what you've
Sure.
experienced as a kid.
Yeah.
So, go ahead and tell us about that night.
All right. So we were heading up. Must have been, gosh, I think it's Highway 50, getting close to Highway 58. I think here outside of Eugene, and we were going up the McKenzie River on the old McKenzie River Highway, and it actually was my birthday. Happened to be my birthday, and this must have been 2012, and so we were going up to a bonfire. So as all the kids know from the Pacific Northwest, that we go out and
oh yeah
go out and drink beer in the woods and
forest.
Stuff. Yeah. So anyway, we went up there, and it was way, way back up in the boonies. It must have been right after the bridge. We took a right, and then there was an old logging road or an old Forest Service road. You took a right after the McKenzie River Bridge, and then you took a bunch of rights and a bunch of lefts on a tiny, tiny little road. And we got back up there a couple miles, and when I got there was everybody already there, and they were getting all the wood and everything ready to go. So the bonfire was getting ready to start, and I'd like to add that yes, there was beer, but nobody was, nobody wasn't, hammered. A drunk, even more than probably 2 or 3 beers in. Everybody was coherent, absolutely. So it wasn't like, oh, we were wasted and we saw something, So, like I said, maybe half an hour I had been there. The bonfire had started. It wasn't dusk yet. It wasn't dark, completely dark. It was kind of starting to get dark, just a little bit. You could, the shadows were, it was coming quickly. Darkness was coming quickly for sure. But so we were standing there looking at the bonfire, and all the guys, we had parked our trucks facing the bonfire, like in a circle, so there was a little bit more light. And off to the side of one of the trucks, about maybe 30 yards into the brush, into the trees, there's a bunch of this particular landscape is there was a clearing, and the clearing was probably 40 yards in diameter, and then there was a big pile of limbs and branches where we had the bonfire. It wasn't a very big clearing, but it was surrounded in all aspects of us 360 degrees basically, except for the road, in just trees. And so we heard a snap and a break off to the left-hand side. So we looked. There was about 10 of us in this particular group. Like I said, there was 30 of us, about 30 of us, but there was probably 10 of us that were talking in this particular group. And we had music playing in the background, but it wasn't loud enough to where, nobody could hear anything. It was just background noise. So we did hear this snap and a break to the left of us. And it was loud enough to where we could hear it. So I knew that it was pretty close. I'm guessing 30 yards maybe. And we looked over and we saw a tree, and it was slender. It was going straight down, but closer to the base of the tree was a big mound, a lump. And we were staring at it. And I said, I saw it, and two other guys standing next to me saw it. And I said, "What is that?" I said, what is at the bottom of that tree? And it was, like I said, it was dark, but it looked to be black to me. Just a big black mass, just a big black lump on the ground. But it was probably 3 or 4 feet above the actual top of the ground. And so we stared at it for about 30 seconds. And then one of the guys, I guess his name's Michael. He started taking a step over, and it moved. This big, huge, this big, huge mass at the bottom of the tree just moved, right? And so he stopped, and he took one more step about 10 seconds later, and this thing just stood straight up. I mean, slow. I mean, just like if he was crouching down, like in the woods, like somebody's taking a pee in the woods or something. He stood straight up, and I mean, we're talking not an inch shorter than 9 foot. I mean, almost 10 feet, guarantee it, because we went over there and looked. Stood straight up, looked right at us, and just walked off. And it took about 8 seconds for it to walk off. I mean, just crash. I mean, bang, boom, boom, knocking over all the shrubbery, all the trees, all the little baby trees. I mean, just, you could clearly see a path where it just went. And so when that happened, when it just wandered off, it took us probably about 3 seconds for all of us to run back to our vehicles.
I bet.
And so, but a couple of us left, me and my girlfriend, and a couple of my best friends. We actually didn't move. We didn't leave. We stayed in our trucks for about, I would say probably 5 or 6 minutes. And we were just looking at each other. And then I finally rolled my window down, and we decided to go look. To go look where we originally saw where he was crouching down. So yeah, we went over there, and we took, we said, gosh, it must have been 9 feet. And then we could see the trail of where he pushed everything over and when he was making his exit. And gosh, it must have been, at that point, it was probably no more than 20 minutes from the original sighting. And we heard 2 whoops from about maybe 100 yards away. We heard two distinct whoops, and at that point we just kind of looked at each other and we got in our cars and took off. That was it. We knew that we knew that we were not wanted anymore. We were impeding on some sort of space, and we thought this is not a good idea anymore.
So we went back. Kind of naturally have a feeling of you knew what it was.
I did. I had a feeling that I knew what it was. I have one of the buddies who I was there with. he actually is avid hunter, and he's
Mm,
actually he's said he's seen one. So he's done, but that was back when we were kids that he said he saw one. When we were in high school still.
mm,
So he said immediately, he said, "Oh, that was definitely a Sasquatch." So,
jeez.
but I also wanted to add there was absolutely no smell, because I've
Hmm.
heard a lot. I've heard a lot of things about.
I didn't have a smell either that night.
Really?
We smelled nothing. Not even when we heard it crashing up, and we got out of the tent.
Yeah.
Um, we smelled nothing. I smelled
Nope.
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. We couldn't.
Not a thing.
I think that they were that they, and I say they because I'm sure there was probably. I mean, usually where there's one, there's
Two or
more.
more. Yeah.
Close. I mean, very close. And I think that at least this one had come around just to watch because we were making so much noise. I mean,
Curious.
we had a big fire going, and like I said, the guys where they were there setting up for my birthday, they had been there for an hour and a half before I even got there. You know what I mean? So they had been there for a while. Plus, we were playing music, and we were all laughing and talking and stuff. And
Hmm.
so I'm guessing that he was
Just
he or she was
curious and
curious.
wanting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sure he had been there for a long time before we had even noticed him.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm one of those guys that's kind of partial to the theory that that they are wild animals, that
Sure.
they can be extremely dangerous, but at the same time curious, and sometimes they're just curious to just be there and then leave, like, and you probably never even notice. you know
Right.
I think that
Yeah,
does happen. That was probably one of those moments.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So now you mentioned kind of growing up and having some experiences or something that
So
kind of.
so I grew up in
Mhm.
Veneta, Oregon, which is where the Oregon Country Fair is.
Yep.
And we had a big property. It was I mean, big enough to uh I guess big enough to call big. It was a
Yeah.
farm. It was 7 acres.
Hmm.
So, and it actually bordered the Oregon Country Fair.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
our property, this was our property, and then like literally you took one step off of our property, and it was Oregon Country Fair property. It was the back entrance to the country fair.
Hmm.
So, my grandparents bought that property, and they bought it back in like 1969, I think, the winter of 69
Hmm.
or 70. And they lived there for 25 years before we moved there. And I'll add that my grandfather was a Forest Service ranger.
Yeah, because
So
you got just to the west of you starts the whole Cascade part of
yeah,
the coastal Cascade part of the
yep,
mountain range here in
absolutely,
Oregon.
yeah,
Because ours gets split right down the middle there with the valley of I-5, basically, and on either side you got High Cascade Range, and then you've got the High Cascade Coastal Range.
yes,
And Veneta sits. I've been to Veneta many times.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah,
right on the
I
way
know
there to
right where
farm.
you're at too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I said, uh, my grandfather was a Forest Service ranger. So he was out there in it in the wild all the time. And um, now that I look back, and he passed away probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that.
Hmm.
And um, I started getting into the whole Sasquatch thing in the last few years since my 2012 sighting.
Hmm.
So I never was able to actually ask him about what he thought about the situation, about what he thought about Sasquatch, or if he had had any encounters himself, because he was a radio operator and he would hike to all these different places and fix their radios, like
Hmm.
through the winter storms. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So anyway, so they bought that house in like 69, 70, and we moved out there in about 95. I must have been about 12 or so. So like I said, it borders the Oregon Country Fair property. And that Oregon Country Fair property, I mean, as you well know, that's a big piece of property,
Yeah, it is.
and most of it is woodland area, timber. I mean, trees
Yeah.
and then the actual country fair part of it is wooden structures that are vacant for 9 months out of the year, honestly. And so, um, my friends and I, growing up, we would, I'd have lots of friends over, and I always had buddies around. My dad was a musician, and so he was always traveling or working or doing whatever. So I always had buddies around. So we would go and explore, obviously, because we were boys, and that's what boys did, you know. So we would go and explore. So we would go during the during the winter time, or the fall or whatever. We would go down to the Oregon Country Fair property and just wander, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and looking back after my 2012 experience on my birthday, looking back, I we saw there was there was gosh, at least 5 times that I can remember between like 12 and 15 where I went down there with somebody or some, you know, a friend of mine or multiple friends where
Hmm.
we saw giant um, trees bent over, xed and marked, and huge, you know, 6 inches in diameter trees, sapling trees, bent down and markings of some sort. And after doing, the research that I've done, I made that connection to where some people think that that's the Sasquatch marking some of their territory
Hmm.
by having these big X's and or nest like uh, places where they sleep, you know. And there was many times this happened 3 times where there's a the back road to the country fair is about a half a mile or so, and it's gravel road, and it was dark, and gosh, I must have been 13 or so, and we had literally had rocks thrown at us, and we were walking in the back road, and there's no lights. We're talking just a regular gravel road in the middle of nowhere. No, I mean, trees all around it. No street light for 10 miles. And we had 3 separate occasions we had rocks thrown at us,
Hmm.
3 separate times. And we didn't make anything of it except for either what there was 4 of us, and one of us thought the other one was just screwing around, or we wrote it off to we know that there is a caretaker for the country fair,
Hmm.
and he might be trying to shoo us off, or we had a legend that he was you know uh, an Igor type from Frankenstein, like a
Yeah.
crazy, so that's we had that type of legend going on back there. The kids had that legend thing that the caretaker was, but it was all the way on the other side of the whatever. So rocks thrown, the tree formations that were had to have been man-made because they were pulled. I mean, they were pulled down and fastened, making
Hmm.
into an X. And so putting that stuff together, I think that it's possible that uh, there is Sasquatch that live in that area that come through as they're going to the coast. They could
Hmm.
live there. They could live there at the Oregon Country Fair property. They have wooden structures made out of trees and stuff like that that's totally vacant 9 months out of the year. I mean, the guys come in May or whatever, or yeah, May,
Hmm.
the beginning of June, and they start getting ready for the country fair in July, and then they're gone by the end of July, and then it's empty the rest of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they do that migration thing where they leave the mountains and then go to the coast, or go to the coast and go to the mountains, or whatever they do, I think that it's totally plausible that they stay and live there for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think that I've come across it once or twice.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've been kind of a believer that, instead of flying south like geese,
Right.
um, these things, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, I noticed that at least this is like I said, is what I believe, that to the higher elevations, to the higher timberland, mountainous region of the Cascades on the east side of I-5 corridor here is where they are basically, late, they start hitting there like late winter, early spring, and then are there until probably mid fall, and then they move to the more coastal ranges. Now I think there's some that probably live along the coastal ranges, and I think constantly maybe moving up and down that whole corridor of mountains. But I think there's some that actually cross that kind of valley divide there, and heading out of the more harsher terrain in the winter into the not so harsh environment of, because people don't understand that you, from Oregon, it's like we all know that, yeah, you can get some snow-capped mountains on the coastal range and everything like that, but when you're sitting halfway up those mountains, it's actually not so bad in the winter
Yeah.
as it would be on the east side. It's just frozen high country tundra.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
For
like
sure.
there's thick
Yeah.
woods and there's mountains and everything, and you got to get past, but it's just nothing but snow everywhere all the
Yeah.
time.
And
So
after a week, then it's just hard snow, and everything's just
yeah,
frozen. Just
yeah,
just frozen.
yeah, and I mean, even right now, I mean, I live in town now. I moved back down into town, and I got like a gang of like 27 turkey here up and down my block. I've got
Yeah.
a whole herd of deer that come through here. I get a buck, like a 4 point or 6 point buck, comes walking by my yard every morning.
Wow.
So, and we
That's pretty
also,
cool though.
just about a block or two up from my house, my
Yeah.
nephew lives there, and he had about a 7 foot long from head to tail mountain lion walk right through his yard.
Wow.
So,
Well,
them moving
there's plenty of
around.
stuff. There's plenty of stuff there.
Hmm.
Yeah, that reminds me, my kids, I have two daughters that go to the little elementary school where they live, and they had they had a lockdown
Hmm.
a couple of weeks ago because there was a mountain lion that came and was walking around the parking lot.
Yep,
So it's right there. I
I heard
mean,
about that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's freaky. But it's little things like that that kind of, it's like me, I being from the Pacific Northwest. I mean, it was something you heard of growing up, and then once me and my mom
sure.
saw those tracks while we were up there trying to grab a Christmas tree, with my folks, having this an incident 20 years later in the same general area,
Sure.
for me right off the bat, I was like, Bigfoot. I've been here. I've seen tracks here before when I was younger. I know what that was. I know what it sounded like. I know what's running around here. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And when it's like once you get that in your mind, uh you know what you've seen and you actually do see it or whatever. For me at least, it's one of those things to where I would like to know the most I can about the situation. I would like to
Mhm.
know the most I can about what and nobody does. Nobody knows for sure. I mean, you have your theories, and that's a good theory. That's probably the best I've heard as far as where they live for, by the migration status,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but there's plenty of stuff that we don't know. And then there's a whole huge um, other side to the story of, why, classifications and, that whole thing can be talked about and debated
Yeah.
days, for days. So,
For years.
yeah,
I mean, I'm a total creationist, and it's just like, I don't know. I've done
yeah,
my research. I've looked at the science, and looking at specified complexity, there's no way things. There's no chance is just a word.
sure.
I was like, chance is just a word for people who just can't accept stuff, and It's like I tell people, it's just there's an explanation for basically everything. There really is. There's a
Sure,
reason for it too,
sure.
you know. And the reason behind something like this, well, it's a mountain gorilla, maybe, some sort of primate of some kind. And what do
Absolutely. Why
primates
not?
do? Primates help cut down on certain populations of things, like a spider cutting down populations of insect,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
And but that's why I tell people, be careful when you're in the woods.
Right. Because at the end of the day, I mean, these things are 10 feet tall, 1,000 pounds, and can rip you from, you know,
Right in half.
yeah.
It's like,
Especially if and it probably a lot like human beings, each one has a different temperament.
oh, yeah, exactly. As a matter of fact, you'll find out with great apes and stuff like that. Certain ones have certain temperaments,
Hmm.
and some can be a little bit more. It's kind of like when Jane Goodall did all of her research.
Exactly.
There were some that had different. They all had their own temperament.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I think the wild animals, even though they run on basic instincts, still have temperaments.
Yeah.
Some are just a little bit more quick to react than others.
And there's some that you can rub their belly and some you really shouldn't. Like you remember that grizzly man guy?
Hmm.
Remember that guy from Alaska, the grizzly man
Yeah,
that got eaten?
yeah.
Yeah, well, he got eaten because there was a rogue grizzly bear that came through and he tried to do the baby bottle feeding to that one and he didn't like it.
No, it's a
Yeah,
wild flipping bear.
right. Yeah. Now he tried to baby talk to it and it said get out of here. And in its way of saying get out of here, he ended up killing him.
Mm,
But I'm sure he probably didn't mean to. I mean, the bear, as far as if you dissected the bear's uh, uh, mannerisms or his motive, the bear might not have meant to kill him, but his way of pushing him away, I mean, that ripped him in half. I mean, that did whatever it did to him. You know what I mean?
hmm.
Like a shark.
Yeah,
An investigatory bite is enough to take someone's leg off.
yeah,
As
exactly.
as opposed to going at it for prey.
Hmm.
He probably didn't mean to hurt him, but
Just
so you
that's what
got to be
happens.
careful. So yeah,
Yeah,
you do have to be careful out there for sure, especially if you
exactly.
have children. You're going to take your kids out and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not afraid to take my kids in the woods or go camping and hunting and
Sure.
whatever.
No, my kids love all
But
that too, but you have to be diligent about it.
I
You
always
can't
tell
let
them
them.
you go with your gut and you keep eyes in the back of your head. You never go
Sure.
out with some sort of protection, whether it's bear spray or a gun or I don't care what, you just carry something.
Hmm.
Carry something that's going to give you that edge to get away.
Yeah.
I do not tell my children just go in and start killing at will, but it's like, you know, do what you can at first before you pull that trigger. Do what you can to shoo it off. If it ain't shooing
Sure.
off, shoot it.
Yep. Yeah.
Boom.
Because when we're out there, we have to fight to be at the top of the food chain. We're not naturally there.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with something like that around,
Yeah.
or even a mountain lion or bear.
Hmm.
So we have to do what we can we have to take steps and precautionary measures to be at the top of the apex.
Yeah. And just a couple things real quick. Whenever that one stood up, I mean, did you notice the shoulders, the arms, kind of the build? Could you kind of explain that to us a little bit more?
Well, it stood straight up, like I said, through the trees. There was a couple of trees. I actually wasn't. I didn't know if we would be live, like if you would have a picture of me or you'd be able to see me. I actually drew a picture. I can take a picture of it and send it to you or do whatever.
That'd be
But
great.
like, yeah. So basically through two trees, I could see him as he was walking away, and his shoulders kind of slumped straight down. I mean, it wasn't like straight across. Like I couldn't see any definition either. There was no. It wasn't like I hear these stories of great big bodybuilder type. It was just more like scrawny and skinny with like fur hanging off of him. I mean, like literally, like you could see no neck,
Mm-hmm.
but from his like from I would say his jawline, it sloped straight down to his arms,
Mm-hmm.
like to his shoulders, and his the forehead was very very. I mean, you could see his profile pretty clearly, and he had longer shaggy hair on top, and it was like dark brown, but his forehead and his nose and his cheekbones and stuff, uh, it was almost bare, almost like our face, but there was some hair, straggly hair on it, and completely dark eyes though. I couldn't see anything as far as the eyes go.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But as far as muscle tone, no. As far as shoulders, uh, actual muscle tone on any part of his body, absolutely not. What I noticed was, like I said, from about his ears or his jawline, I basically went straight down to to like his sloping shoulders. And what I noticed most was his hands. His hands, they were huge, but without hair on them.
So you got a
The
glimpse of like skin
yeah,
in the light.
yeah, yeah. So the hair went all the way to about the mid hand area,
Mm-hmm.
like probably oh,
Like knuckles.
four or five, well, it was a couple inches above the knuckles.
Okay.
And it stopped. The hair, I could see. Maybe they were long, super long fingers, but I could see all fingers and a little bit of the back of the hand as he was walking away. And then on his other hand, I could see total palm. I mean, like what? I mean, it looked like total super light brown skin.
Okay. Huh.
But that's what I remember most was his face and his sloping down shoulders. Absolutely no muscle tone and just these
Just dark face. Just
huge, huge, huge hands walking away. His face was actually more light, but his eyes were dark. Like from his brow to the middle of his nose were super dark. I don't know if they were sunken in
mm,
or what, or if they were black, or if it was the lighting or the shading or whatever. But I noticed his forehead,
probably
and
all
it
of
had
that mixed in at that time of day,
yeah,
evening.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I could see his forehead and his like cheekbones and stuff, and they were without hair. I mean, there were straggly hairs a little bit but as far as like like
The
90%
nose
of his
kind of
body,
flat, or is it long? Is it more?
the nose was more longer. It was more like a human's nose. I mean, it was more protruding, like a bell peppery nose, like
Okay.
a big wide nose,
Mm-hmm.
big wide. Like someone who's got a big old nose on his
Mm-hmm.
face, big old flat nose,
Nice.
like a bell pepper nose.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
So that's and that was what I gathered from talking with the other six or eight guys that were with us too, and my girlfriend,
Yeah.
is that that's what I saw, the hands and the face, and I know that it didn't have any. It wasn't super huge, like you know what we see in the fantasy or the TV shows or whatever. Like it wasn't this. I mean, it was super tall, but it was pretty scrawny too. And like I said, it just his shoulders sloped straight down into his arms, and his arms were
It
super
wasn't like
long.
5 feet wide or anything. It was kind of
No,
like
yeah,
basketball player.
it was super like it looked like yeah, gangly,
Mm-hmm.
like a really tall person, like a really tall kid who hasn't grown into his body yet.
That's a good way to explain it. I've
Yeah,
never heard that one yet. That's pretty good.
yeah,
Like a really tall kid that hasn't grown into his body yet.
for
That's
sure.
interesting.
Like a basketball player, like who just has elbows for days, just like elbows
Yeah,
all
just
over the
all
place.
elbows and
Yeah,
knees. Yeah, I
yeah.
saw who was that? Played for the Portland Trailblazers way back in the day, and saw him on
Oh,
the Rogue River, and he was coming down in a boat, and it was all elbows and knees out. It was like yeah, it was just insane to
are you
see
talking about
that.
Bill Walton?
No, no, no.
After that,
Wasn't Bill Walton? It was I think you might have played with him though. what's his face? One of the most popular guys that I ever played with the lasers. Trying to the tip of my tongue, and somebody's gonna answer it in the comments here. I'm gonna be like, yeah, that was it. I
He was a
actually got
big
to hang
dude.
out with him. We fished with him for like an hour and a half. It was really cool. So
Hmm.
yeah, we ended up meeting him down there at the bottom of just down there around the Galice area, outside
Oh,
of Grants
okay.
Pass and
Oh, he was on
Merlin
the
and all
Rogue.
that.
He was on
He
the
was on
Rogue.
the
You said?
road, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but gosh, right there on the tip of my
Is he a white dude?
no,
Okay. So is he Drexler?
no, way
We're
before
talking.
that.
We're talking. Okay, so we're talking a really tall
We're
guy,
talking like yeah, like late 70s and 80s. He was playing maybe.
Duckworth.
No. No.
Man, you got
Um,
me. But he played. Okay, so
I,
it was before that. Before
I can
Duckworth,
Google it while we're sitting here, but
he played with Walton that era,
I think he
probably.
did. Probably. Um,
Maurice Lucas.
no, no. What is his name? That is
It's gonna,
killing me.
it's gonna bother both of us. It's
It's
gonna
gonna
bother me.
totally bother
It's
me.
gonna bother me. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'll totally bother me. Now I'll have to go like, ew, who was it? I don't even know how to ask the question in Google.
It's like, what do you
But
say?
yeah, no, that is awesome, man. That's probably one of the best descriptions I've had in a long time here in Southern Oregon of this thing.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
that's the first thing that
especially
popped
that
into my
one.
mind.
Most of the time I get them kind of blocked, kind of a blocky build. What time of the year was that anyways?
This was October.
Okay.
My
So,
birthday is my birthday is the 21st of October, so it
okay,
was
my
mid
daughter's
month of
is the
October.
4th. So maybe it was just a long, skinny summer, you know?
Yeah,
Could have
very,
been.
very, yeah,
Yeah, could
very,
have been
very.
that.
Not a lot of, you
Not a lot
know,
of food available, you
plenty of
know?
berries. Will do that to you.
Yeah, really, exactly.
Salads don't make friends.
No, gotta have some meat in that diet. Gotta have some campers in that diet.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, gosh, that's crazy. Just to think of all the times I've been up there doing that when I was younger. A teenager
Yeah,
we were up on the mountainsides outside of like Jacksonville and Medford and Ashland and up around that whole range there. Just, bonfires and whatnot. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. I've been up and down that river all through high school and stuff. I had a friend of mine who her uncle ran the gosh, what is it called? It's called the United States Basketball Academy,
Hmm.
and they have a big complex up there up the McKenzie River.
Oh, wow.
And the uncle is a boat. He's a whitewater rafting guide.
Mm.
So they have like LeBron James and Michael Jordan and all these guys come out to practice for the United States Basketball Academy. I mean, we're talking
Oh, wow.
USA basketball. So they come out there, and then the uncle takes them on the river, takes them rafting on the river.
Mm.
So we've been up there 20 times when I was all through high school, going to the
Nice.
academy up there playing basketball and stuff. So yeah,
Oh, that's got to be awesome.
yeah, it was fun. It was pretty cool.
That's got to be cool. Well,
Yeah,
thanks, man, for being on here and
absolutely.
sharing all that. That was awesome. Whenever you come down through Roseburg anytime, let me know ahead of time, man. I'm right
Yeah.
here, just off the freeway here nowadays.
Oh,
So
really? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I go to Roseburg all the time, man. Seriously,
Oh,
seriously.
nice. No,
Yeah,
just let
all
me
the
know
time.
next time you're coming down, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
get together.
I'm here, man.
Sounds
That'd be
good.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
I'll bring
like
some
I
of
say,
these little Sasquatch coffee stickers with me and give you one.
dude, that's awesome. I need one of those in my life.
Oh, that Sasquatch coffee is awesome. I'm totally a huge fan of it. Matter of fact, I'm kind of now a sponsor of it, so it's
Well,
really
there you go.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. Gunner up there runs that Monster X Radio, and he's part of the Olympia project with Shane Corson and all them, and they do
That's
a
pretty
lot of
cool.
awesome. These guys probably do some of the best research out here today as far as Bigfoot research is concerned. I mean, they're
Yeah,
just
for
awesome.
sure.
So it's pretty
Now, do
good.
you go out? Do you actually go out?
I don't
And
get to. Not really.
yeah.
No, I got that was just my daughter and my wife that just came walking right by me with Christmas
Oh, sure.
stuff. So we're gonna start
Yeah.
getting ready for that. And we have 4 kids, 5
Yeah.
altogether, homeschool. We do go out and do some fly fishing quite a bit. And so when I do go out, I go up to the mountain lakes and stuff like that. And I do, when I'm out of the
Yeah.
car or walking along the lake, I look for stuff. I'll
Sure.
listen intently. Sometimes I'll go drop off a recorder in the woods up around the rim here, the Callahans and all of that. So
Yeah.
I'll do that from time to time, as much as I can. When I get older, or when the kids get older, I'll probably go out and do a little bit more as soon as I can. But
Yeah.
for now, I don't get to, so I get to do this and just kind of entertain
Sure.
all you folks out there, and also get to be that campfire story guy for all the researchers out there when they're not
Yeah. Yeah.
busy doing research. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to do with my life. So
Sure.
awesome. All
Yeah,
right,
man.
man. Hold on for 1 second. I'm going to go ahead
Sure.
and stop the recording here, but I want to say thank you guys so very much for being here at PacWest Bigfoot. You can get over to PacWestBigfoot.com. Don't forget, I'm going to get you a nice, awesome little sketch there, a drawing that you can put into a frame for that Bigfoot fan in your life. And also, that's going to come with something else this next month from mypacwestbigfoot.com. Mypacwestbigfoot.com. That's the shop there. You can grab that. And don't forget, jump over there. Check out Sasquatch Coffee Company. You can check them out. Grab something from Gunner over there while you're listening to some of the awesome, awesome PacWest Bigfoot encounter stories here. So, with that, enjoy. And don't forget, guys, happy holidays. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you if nobody's told you yet. And I will talk to you soon.